5 mistakes that most leaders unknowingly make that cause them to not hit their goals or to really set their teams up to fail. And I promise you that number 2 and number 4 are going to shock you. So let's get into them. Number 1 is first off, I'm Wayne Salmans. I've been able to coach over 6,000 entrepreneurs and leaders. And these 5 are so common. And as soon as you know them, it's going to make a big impact on your life. And I had some aha moments over the years going through these. So here's the first one. Leaders can sometimes make the goals too complicated, meaning they may be a complicated process, but is it simple to execute? See, brilliant leaders, they do this. They can take something that's complicated, a process that's complicated, and bring it back down to simple. Most people have a hard time executing because it's too complicated. Let's say that you have a sales agent that needs to make 20 calls every day. Well, do they have to start every day and figure out who they're going to call? And do they have to log in 16 places? Like, does it take them an hour and a half to figure out what they're doing before they can start making calls? Or are they able to sit down, know exactly who to call, what to say, and how to do it? Is it easy to execute on? Here's the second one. The second biggest mistake that they make, and I've made this mistake too, is we make plans built on perfect scenarios, as if like, hey, we're going to work 5 days a week and all 5 of those are going to be perfect. We don't have kids and holidays and all these other things go on. And so is your plan built in a way that it's actually going to be executable, right? Not built on a perfect, 600 and, hours a year, whatever it is. Is it actually able to execute on? Most people, I have a lot of my clients do this, what I have them do is sit down and write out a ideal average weekly schedule. So an ideal average weekly schedule isn't like their perfect best day ever, nothing went wrong schedule. Here's probably the ideal average schedule that I could do week after week after week that has room for some margin of error, has some room for adjustment that makes sense. And as you're doing that, I find the 4 Ps are really helpful. So write these down. The 4 Ps are plan, prepare, practice, and then have a process. Most people write down their schedule, go, this is what I'm going to do, but they don't allow themselves some practice time to really figure out what works and what doesn't. I thought I was going to do this every Tuesday at 9. That keeps not working. I've got to make some adjustments. So plan, prepare, practice before you establish an actual process. All right, here's number 3. Number 3, now you get this one, yet I want you to ask yourself as a leader, be really honest with yourself. Do you really, really get it? Do you have their buy-in? Meaning, let me say it this way, what gets you through tough times? What gets most of us through tough times is remembering why we started in the first place, where we're going. So my question for you as a leader is, do you know what's driving your team? Do you really know what's underneath it? Do you know what their why is? Do you know that, hey, for Joe in sales, if he makes $100,000, what's the difference between that and what would happen if he made 150, right? What would the impact be on his family? Are you clear on what the why is underneath the goal? Do you really have understand their why, and do you have their buy-in? Right? What's the difference? What's the difference between one of my clients, making $100,000 in revenue share versus $200,000 versus revenue share? Maybe that means they get to retire their parents and their husband doesn't have to travel for work. I don't know, but you got to figure it out. Do you know what that is? Here's number 4. Number 4 is we assume. This is a big one, especially if you are a leader and you've got a lot of people running around. Assumption is a big one that kills us when it comes to dreams or it comes to hitting our goals. Here's what I mean by that. Have you ever had somebody come to you and go, right, you say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do blank, blank, and blank. And you go, do you got that? And they go, yep, got it. And they walk away going, I have no idea what I'm actually supposed to do. Or you give someone a script and you go, all right, say this, this, this. Do you got it? And they go, yep. And you go, perfect. They walk away. They have no idea what they're saying. If you said, hey, would you repeat that back to me? They would fumble all over it. We assume that they've got it. And they're not trying to lie to us. They're just trying to be great, resourceful people. So we say, hey, did you got your calendar figured out? They go, yep. And then you actually look at it, it's all messed up. Right? Don't assume that they have it really dialed in. Right? Go one step further. They go, all right, I've got this all in my calendar. Perfect. Let's take a look at it. Right? You say, hey, here's what to say to the client. Do you got it? They go, yep. And you go, perfect. Repeat it back to me. One of my favorite questions, especially when I'm delegating, is What did you hear me say? Repeat back to me. What did you hear me say? I want to make sure we're on the same page and I'm not assuming. Okay, number 5. This is a big one, especially for me. I did this for many, many years. I played real leadership hot potato. Leadership hot potato is when like you just chuck a goal at somebody and you kind of run away. There's no tracking. There's no rejoicing. There's no milestones along the way. We just go, all right, here's the goal. We just throw it off and we run to the next thing. Hot potato leadership doesn't work very well, right? What you've got to do is keep the score. You got to say, here's the goal. It's like if you set a goal of like, getting your team to the Super Bowl, you wouldn't be like, hey, I'll check back in a couple months and see how we're doing. You would be excited about the game. You would be watching the score. You'd have a scoreboard in front of them. You would be celebrating every down, right? Not just waiting until the end of the season to see where everything's at. So many leaders, we got so much going on. We don't set up ways to track results along the way. And we don't set up ways to celebrate the milestones. I would highly encourage you to ask yourself, are you celebrating the milestones? Are you at the end of the month, at the end of the week, whatever it is, are you celebrating and tracking the milestones to allow your team to stay engaged and excited about where you're going? So here's, get this, and you might want to write some of this down. Their responsibility as members of the organization, their responsibility is to do the work. Their responsibility is to keep their head in the game. Their responsibility is to ask great questions if they don't know what to do or they need help with something. Your job as a leader is this. As a leader, your responsibility is a clear vision, a clear executable game plan, right? And great coaching along the way. My passion in life is to create incredible leaders, to give them a life so they can have a life of freedom and fulfillment. If you want to have a conversation about that, if you find you're stuck somewhere along the way, let's have a conversation. You can reach out to me at brainwithwayne.com. Brainwithwayne.com. We can have a 15-minute conversation and see if maybe there is a tool or a skill set or a mindset that would help you lean into the next level of your growth and your leadership. The reality is nobody calls me that needs to work more hours. People call me when they realize working more hours is no longer the solution and they're not getting the results that they know they could be getting. So if you're struggling with one of these 5, let's have a conversation about bringing things back to simple or figuring out what the why is or building out scenarios that actually work. Let's lean in and give you a life of freedom and fulfillment. Radical, unapologetic success. Go get it, my friends.